Welcome everybody. My name is Dr. Lou Jensen, and this is another session, life and living session, a little fireside chat with the I&E Network. We spent a little bit of time last time talking about the really the most significant word in the marketplace. And if you recall, we were talking about possibilities and trying to present a concept in the first show that I thought would really be important and have some impact for you. But tonight we're going to talk about a habit. We're going to talk about something that is a concept that I think is an extraordinary way to approach your life and living. And I've really spent a lot of time trying to consider what might be of some impact for you. So start trying to think, if there's a habit out there, which habit might be one that would really greatly influence your life and living. I've also got my brother-in-law with me again tonight. Chris, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Fun to be here.
It's fun to be here. It's a little anxious while we get it all set up, isn't it?
It's fun.
Gets rather busy and
fun.
A little bit hectic, but we're ready to roll now. So we're going to go after some concepts that I hope will help you with your own individual life and living. The whole idea of the I&E Network is to learn how to make things and also learn how to market things. And all of them are of an artistic persuasion. And my mentor, Woody Searle, used to advise me constantly to try and get advice and counsel that was more from experience-based background than just an opinion. But I want to talk a little bit more tonight about what I think that really means. And if I tell you an initial story, I just found a new book that I want to show you. It's called Everyday Greatness, and it's written by Stephen Covey. And those of you that have been involved for the last 5 years in my shows on the web know how much I really like Stephen Covey's stuff. This is produced by Reader's Digest. And I'd like you to just sit back, kick back, and think about this story a little bit as I read it to you. And then we'll go from there and see if we can't come up with what's really does this mean. One foggy night at sea, the captain of a ship saw what looked like the lights of another ship heading toward him. He had his signalman contact the other ship by light. The message was, "Change your course 10 degrees to the south." The reply came back, "Change your course 10 degrees to the north." Then the captain answered, "I am a captain, so you change your course 10 degrees to the south." Reply, "I'm a seaman first class. Change your course 10 degrees to the north." This last exchange really infuriated the captain, so he signaled back, "I'm a battleship. Change your course 10 degrees to the south." Reply, "I'm a lighthouse. Change your course 10 degrees to the north." Isn't that fun, Chris?
Wonder which one of them ended up changing their course.
A little bit of impact, a little bit of a different perspective, obviously. And I want you to think about, why would this be the beginning of everyday greatness? The very start out of somebody's very important book about all the qualities and characteristics that are important. Why would they start with that kind of a story?
Because I think you're going to have to be willing to make life happen the way you want it to. You're going to have to make changes. The last 50 years of my life are going to be different than the next 50 years of it, so you're going to have to be willing to make some changes.
Yeah. Now, this is really an important concept, and it leads all of what the Reader's Digest was trying to publish. But I'd also like it to lead this Journey TV effort on our part. The fact that we're building now a platform, worldwide platform for talent. And if you can discover you've got some ability and you develop that ability, you master that ability, and then you learn how to basically share it in this kind of a format, we've got Personal Quest television going here. And yet your participation is what's going to ultimately actually make this thing work out. There are, I've had a little thing since I retired early from dentistry. I peddled a lot of medicines over my lifetime. But now all I hand out anymore is a passionate prescription. And I hope that each of these shows will go from 1 and 2 and 3 valuable life and living lessons, so that you'll gradually learn a little bit more about what you're trying to do and what you're trying to accomplish. And it's really significant, I think, to recall the fact that there are three types of judgment. And it was involved in the story with the sea captain as well. There's your own personal judgment, then there's the general public and opinion, and then there's the advice of maybe more experienced individuals that you seize on and you help guide your life with. And that wisdom's voice is just huge. I don't think it's really effective in life or living to go after this without realizing that maybe I'm listening to opinion. We're counseling people on how to start and take their hobby from a hobby on into a business. And if you're asking your brother-in-law who's never done it before, who's failed every business effort he's tried, and yet you're asking him for advice and counsel and listening to it or paying attention to it, I think you're making a big mistake.
Your brother-in-law failed.
Oh.
So what choice do you have?
What choice do you have?
If you go down the same road he's going down, which one would you rather listen to? Me, who hasn't had the experience, or Al Hone or Craig or Keith, who have done it for many, or you, and who have done it for many years. I mean,
that's what you're after.
They would be ridiculous for them to listen to me on advising them, and I would be out of line to advise them.
Well, but everybody does anymore. You can stop in the post office, and I've done it, and ask anybody about any business question you want, and the line in the post, and there's always a line in the post office, everybody will have an opinion, except I'm not sure that's a good one.
Might not be where you want to go fishing.
Shouldn't really give that a whole lot of credence. Since my whole life is wrapped around eggshells and basically launched this whole new direction for me, I have a sign basically hanging on the wall right there that was carved by Wally Goddard, a good friend of mine, years and years, but this was before there was even a company. And this is kind of the concept that I use, where I create and cultivate and incubate my new ideas and my new thinking. So it's really significant in my life, and I try and pay a whole lot of attention to it. This is also a personal journal that I'm carving. I'm doing one of these for each of my kids before I'm gone, and we're going to just continuously bring up the effectiveness of a personal journal. The primary reason is so that you can keep track of how you're doing. It's not just to record what's going on. It's a constant way of measuring yourself. And without those things in place, it's really hard and challenging to read, how am I doing? How's my business going? How's my personal life going? If I'm not constantly measuring, here's where I started, here's where I'm headed, and this is kind of how I'm doing along the way. So we're going to bring those up from show to show and see if we can't basically help you get a better picture of how are things going for me, what's happening in my life. I've got a story that I want to show you and talk to you about. It's a teaching moment in my life. It really made a horrendous amount of difference for me. And every time I share it, it's pushes me again with the same response and the same feelings. I'm an old scouter, crazy scouter nut, and I carry a possibles bag with this paraphernalia in here. It's a flint and steel fire striker, and one of my favorite gifts in my entire life was this little package, and in there is flint and steel that helps us make flint and steel fires. Now, for years, I specialized. I believe in specialization in everything you do in your life. And my scouts would constantly be really good at making flint and steel fires. And so I would teach them how to build a flint and steel fire with the materials that we had available. And I'd try and show them how to take a flint and hold the striker. And you basically can pop it like that and cut off a spark, and it goes into charred cloth, and you blow it and make yourself a fire. That's well, cool. One day I was in, we were in a winter camp down in Jensen, Utah. There is such a place.
Yeah, there is.
Right along the Green River, up on that plateau, you know, down there, but where it's so cold.
It's cold down there.
It was this time of the year, and it was just nasty. And Bob Oswald's a professional scouter walked up to the group, and all of scout leaders were standing around a fire, and he pulled out a striker and a flint and put a piece of charred cloth in his hand, and then he just popped it like that. And boy, he had a fire in his hand in about 3 seconds. It couldn't have happened any quicker if you'd had a big lighter, you know. And I'd never seen it done that way. And for all my career years of being scoutmaster and scout leader, I was the guru of flint and steel fire building. I just never, our kids never lost because we practiced a horrendous amount. And all of a sudden I'd seen something done differently that I had not seen done that way before. And I was so embarrassed I didn't even bring it up while we were around the fire, and I waited till Bob walked off. Followed him over, and I says, Oswald, you got to show me what you did, how you built that fire. And he said, me show you? I said, yeah, I didn't understand how you did it in your hand like that. So he said, well, you just put the char cloth here, and then you hold the angle of the flint right here. There's always these little sharp edges on the flint. And then he says, when you bring the striker down across it like that, that will drive the spark down this way instead of up this way, and it'll catch the spark.
So it's the direction that you hold the flint.
It's how you hold the flint that makes it. Now, instantly at that moment, I discovered that all my life, somehow, I don't know how far it goes back, but I always thought it was a spark of the flint that you knocked off with the steel. I didn't realize that what it really was a piece of the steel was the spark.
So the steel is what's making the spark, not the flint.
Steel is the spark, and I had it just exactly backwards. Now, we call that out west bass backwards, because do you know how hard it is to build a fire, Chris, when you got everything wrong?
You can't.
The technology is just completely backwards.
It's not going to work very good.
There's no way. You can build it, but you have to work 5 times as hard. Okay?
Yep.
Now, in modern psychological circles, this is called a scotoma. And a scotoma is a personal blind spot. It's something we think we're right about. In fact, usually to the death we're right about, except we're not. We're wrong. And I can tell you how many thousands of kids I've taught how to build flint and steel fires the bad way, because the only way I could make it work was to work 3 times as hard to actually get the job done. Now, if you'll just take this concept and just move it back into what the captain was facing when he was arguing with the lighthouse, and the same circumstance with all of us. We all struggle with this.
Captain thought he was right, and he wasn't going to change.
This same dilemma. Yeah. We're so sure we're right that we're often mess our lives up.
We're ready to crash our ship.
We compound everything because we don't really understand what the difference really is, and really not what's going on. Now, I've talked to you in the first show about the next 50 weeks of our life. Anybody can transition and transform their life in a year. If you take every single week and concentrate on a concept and adjust something, you don't have to make these huge changes, just these small changes in your life that'll gradually pull your life in a direction that'll be a lot more rewarding and a lot more personally satisfying. So next week, go ahead.
Change the angle of your flint, basically.
Bingo. Boy, that's good. That's a good point, Chris. I'm going to show you an overview of what I think are basically the quality of life and living standards now, the things that you should be measuring and paying attention to. And obviously, if our lives are out of balance in individual areas, boy, that can really put pressure on the rest of our living. And most don't measure a balanced life. Mm-mm. They're so aggressive at going after this or going after that that they don't even know how to keep these things back into a position where it will actually work for you. For example, the thing that's kind of deceiving for most of us is how we drive. We all know people that we've got to ride with that drive way too fast all the time. They got their foot through the carburetor constantly, and they go from one stop sign to the next and slam on the brakes, and they're just harsh about the driving. But if you ask them in a casual conversation and circumstance, they would usually say, "What, me? Bad driver?" There's no way. And so most of us have these scotomas, these areas that we just don't see how things really are. And as a world right now, the world as a whole thinks we've got it all figured out. But how do you think the world 500 years from now is going to look back on us at this age?
Laugh.
Most of them are going to just be,
That's
can
it.
you believe
Yeah.
they were messing around with internet? That's the most antiquated way to communicate and connect there is. And heck, 20, 25 years ago, who would have believed it?
There was no
You know,
internet.
we don't know what we don't know.
That's
And
true.
for an adult, that's just about our biggest
That
single
drives you
nemesis. We just think we got it sort of figured out now, except the reality for most of us is we really don't. And so the constant human dilemma is what opened up basically the door for me. I love just going after the entire dental profession because they missed the whole other uses of the drill. How in the world did dentistry go for all those years, nearly 70 years, with a high-speed drill in our mouths and nobody ever thought about using it for anything else?
Because they just had one of those. Would you call it a batoma?
A scotoma.
Scotoma?
A scotoma.
That's
and
all
usually in the trade, within the trade, is where the scotoma is the
That's
deepest
where-
and the
that's where
widest.
it's
We
at.
just don't see opportunity all the time. And I'm going to share with you a concept tonight, and I'm going to amplify it from two different directions. And if you can sleep tonight after I finish this show,
I'm
be
leaving
really
right
surprised.
now then.
I'm going to hit you with one of the best there is in this whole custom personalization arena. But I just defy you to not realize and sense just how much potential's really here. Recently, Chris, I had a chance to go visit with my really good friend Lance Turner. And Lance Turner is an iconic individual. He is the original inventor of Smokey Bear. Very, very famous person. Lives in Utah Valley and has lived there his entire life. He's also an architect.
How cool to be the guy that invented
Wouldn't that be
Smokey.
something?
I'd put that on my headstone.
Yeah, just that's so powerful. I mean, just those two words. He's a great artist besides. And so he's doing a lot of really beautiful artwork now in pastels. He gets up at 4 o'clock every morning and paints for several hours and does his artwork. And he's easily one of the best pastel artists in the country now. And 84 years old, and just has so much fun with his life. It's
Cool.
amazing. But how could you come up with two words? All you got to say is only you.
Yep.
And 99% of humanity can finish those words for you, even down through children.
Yep.
And he said that's what they were looking for, was something that would affect even the children, that the children would
For
basically,
generations.
the new generation would
Yep.
grow up and prevent forest fires, and that only you can prevent forest fires. But he's also the guy that dreamed up Charlie's Sun-Kissed Tuna.
Oh
And he-
man,
he
he's got a lot of cool things.
Yeah, you just one good idea leads to another,
that's
and
cool.
that's what you do is just chase them. But he's the guy that came up with Charlie's
Sun-Kissed
Sun-Kissed Tuna.
Tuna. Yeah.
So if you're getting advice and counsel on a career in art from a guy like Lance Turner, with all this seasoning and all this background and all this experience, that's wisdom's voice.
That's one you might want to pay attention
That's one you want to pay attention to and listen to. Well, we got off on the tangent on this discussion because he's really concentrated on the word if. And we just spent this whole 2-3 hours really digging at the word if, because it's just a major, major factor in the world. And I told him that I had been considering and working on these new television shows, and I have a combination of words that I like to come up with that is what if. It's a combination of what if and another word put together with it, okay? And to me, it's a habit. It's a kind of perspective. We taught a class just a little while ago, and this young lady where the arrow was pointing to, the lady in the green shirt, she was in this engraving class, and she didn't want anybody to know who she was or why she was there. But she makes $60,000 a year on eBay, and she wanted to kind of protect that in the marketplace. And so she was there for a whole nother reason. She wanted to personalize her product. She says, I think I can double it to 120 or maybe even triple it to 180,000 a year on eBay by just adding personalization. And I thought it was so amazing because she was perhaps the least visible in the whole group that were there, and there were quite a number in that individual class that were going through, and I just kept thinking there's hardly anyone here who knows that this woman's making $5,000 a month playing around on eBay already So her perspective was way different in my class than it was for all the rest of them.
She's already, well, in most of your classes, you try to teach them how to market what they make so they can make money with it. Well,
Yeah.
she's already got that part
Yeah.
taken care of.
She's already
Now she's-
hell-bent for breakfast, and she knows what she's after. And so for her, the word if is a different perspective than most people who look at it from a basis of if only.
Yep.
You know, after the fact, we can all see the possibilities and potential and the opportunity, but it's the upfront what if part that makes all the difference in life.
Yep.
And it's an attitude, it's a habit, it's a way of looking at things that if you're constantly challenging your own thinking, don't just assume, oh yeah, I got that all figured out. I know how that works. I've got it so that I understand it, and make all your judgments and basis on that. What you don't know is going to really make your business efforts.
That's a big part of your life is what you don't know.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you've been doing it like your fire starting. You did it one way, well, another guy showed you another way, and now it totally changed the way you look at it.
I'm halfway through my life before I finally figured that one out. Okay?
Yeah.
So if I show you this picture, this is one of Craig Hohn's drawings, and you can license the rights to duplicate this elk on anything, and this is on a jawbone of a buffalo, and so it's been carved actually on bone. And most of the time when I show this to somebody, the first words out of their mouth is, boy, I don't think I can do that. First words.
I can't do that.
Always. And I'm going, okay, let's show you it carved on a piece of wood. This is the whole drawing. This is what it usually is done on a gun stock, but this is a practice panel. And they'll also say, I don't think I can do this kind of artwork either. And I'm going, boy, if you're telling yourself that,
you've already quit.
Then you've already got yourself in an unusual position. Your perspective from the very beginning is going to be soft. It's going to be blocked to a degree.
Well, if you tell yourself you can't, or you tell yourself you can,
Yeah,
you're right, whichever way you look at it.
Absolutely.
And so if you tell you never, I hate people say I can't do that.
Yeah.
I can't do it the way you do it, maybe, but that doesn't mean that
I
I can't
have
do
to
it
do it
another
as well
way.
as you that've been doing it for 30 years either.
That's true.
Do you remember the guy I talked about last week, Chris, that was from Idaho and came down and did the wolf head carving class, and then he said he'd been sitting on a John Deere tractor for 70 years, and this is the actual carving here. I found a picture of it, and I thought I would include it. Because if you don't think you can, you're right.
You're right.
And if you think you can, you got a shot at it, and the whole attitude is a habit. It's how most people basically pick up on things. It's what they're looking at, right?
Yep.
I wrote a quote quite a few years ago, and I want to read it to you today. It's something that means a great deal to me because it's pretty much how things have gone in my own individual life. But I'm hoping that you'll get it and hang it up in your life somewhere as well, okay? One of the it's relatively easy in life to surprise those people who don't know us very well. But one of the more genuine pleasures of life comes when we manage to surprise those who do know us. They know us better. And it's usually because they don't think we're capable of doing whatever it is that we've managed to pull off, okay?
I like those kind.
But the greatest thing that can happen in one's own lifetime, the really significant joy that comes from the center of your own heart, is when you've managed and try to figure out a way to surprise yourself. That is basically Woody Searle was constantly trying to encourage me to reach beyond what I thought I had the capacity to actually do, which is kind of how these shows have gone as well. When we first started having a few real disasters in the middle of the test shows, I kept thinking, I think I've finally bit off more than I can chew this time. And yet,
you just got to keep chewing on it.
Just keep going. Just keep struggling. Just keep trying. Just keep going at it.
Yep.
Al Hohn is probably one of our more successful masters. And I remember sitting down with Al right in the very beginning because initially his business name was Hohn's Kitchen Cabinets. And we talked and counseled about a better way to position himself in the marketplace with what he has as a skill. instead of just square boxes and kitchen cabinets, which is primarily a need. Maybe what he ought to do is shift his life over into a want. And you'll notice this fishing creel's carved by his son. That was an art piece that sold, I think, for $55,000. The desk he's talking about won the Western Design Competition. It's called Grandpa's Desk. Got $36,000. This was his first major piece as he made the transition. It's called the Moose Bar.
Oh, I like that.
And he moved from his life from cabinet work to artistic furniture. This was his first major effort, and it was priced at $54,000. It won the People's Choice Award the very first time he entered it in that show.
I can see why that would. That's a beautiful
piece
of work.
Piece. It really
that
is
magnificent. Now I got something to shoot at.
I was in Denver at another show, and he called me on the cell phone, and he was just so emotional he could hardly stand. He said, "Lou," I says, "I just won the Western Design Competition. I won Best of Show with Grandpa's Desk." And they sold it promptly at the show. In fact, he's even offered to buy it back from the people that bought it for $36,000 because it's now worth a fortune. And Al has moved his life, gradually transformed his life from his as-is world to something better. In about the last 10 years, he's been very aggressive with it, but he's made every effort, and that every effort is what everybody else has to make. This is an uphill climb. It's the mountain of success. It is not an accident.
Nope.
And I did an interview or a clip to introduce the Cowboy Art Show, and a couple of Al pieces are in this clip with me. I'd like you to see he's moving now to bronze, and he's doing a lot of clay. You'll get an idea, a close-up of just how good he's really getting in the marketplace. Surprise.
Hello there, my name is Dr. Lou Jensen, and I get to go have all the fun in the world. I can't tell you how many incredible events that I've attended in the artistic world over my lifetime, but this is really exciting. It's brand new, but it's going to be a big thing. Western Art Rodeo concept is really unusual, and the judging and the live activity around artists and their work is just turning into a phenomenal thing. This is Al's work, and Al Hone is just moving from his furniture work into full art, and what an exciting thing to see that time unfolding. So if you're thinking about your art career, and especially if you're just beginning, what a great format to get your career started. Come and participate. Yeah, it takes a little courage to step on the stage and put your stuff out in front of humanity, but boy, you got to start somewhere, and this is a really good place to start. So get on the web, find out what's going on with the Western Art Rodeo Association, and get yourself involved, okay?
In the last 20 years, we've had over 3,000 students have come to the company and come to the Hone Studios for training, and it is a faster and easier way to try and help you get your start. But almost invariably, there's a surprise goes on because they come in the door pretty apprehensive and quite sure they really can't do this kind of work, when in reality you can. And once you start to get a sense that this is still, this what-if thing is such a concept, it's so important that you get a handle on your own attitude and your own approach to new things in your life. Instead of putting up the walls and barriers to keep you from trying and doing new stuff, you need to be opening the floodgates.
Tearing them down.
Next week, we're going to go into a whole session on this particular carving. I'm going to show you what to do and how to do it. And so I'd like you to kind of plan on getting with us and making sure you're in on this particular show, because tonight I'm going to show you something on glass. We did a little eggshell in the first show. We're going to do a little bit on glass tonight, but then I'd like to have you begin to see what happens when we can do something a little better on this wood effort, okay? I'd like to have you at this point realize that right now what I'm going to share with you is going to make an impact on you. I think it will, because it's made a tremendous impact on me for now 23 straight years. And the idea is very habit forming. It's very significant. So I'd like to show you an ad in a magazine that has been in this same magazine now for 23 years. The magazine Veranda is on the newsstand every month, and it's a very high-end, upscale magazine published in Birmingham, Alabama. And I've been watching this particular thing in this particular magazine now for 23 straight years. It's been there since the magazine got started all those years ago, okay? And there's an ad in the magazine, and it's always in the back of the magazine. And if I go to it here, let me see. I just picked up this latest issue yesterday. Yep, and here it is right here, okay? Now, I've got a slide. We could come up really close on this and show you exactly what this is all about here, okay? This is a girl in Atlanta called Erica Reed's Studio, okay? This is Erica Reed's custom engraving studio. And her favorite gift is this 8.5-inch crystal bowl hand etched by an American artist. And what's etched on there is, "A friend may well be reckoned the masterpiece of nature." It's a quote by Roy Emerson. And if you'll notice, the price is $150 and shipping and handling. Now, Erica has not changed this ad or the substance of the ad in all these years. The only thing that has changed on this, Chris, is the price. Has gone from 100 to 110 to 120 to 130, and then it jumped to 150. And I could take every copy of every magazine, and I've kept them all. I've got every issue watching this, and I'm going, if it wasn't working, it wouldn't be there, for heaven's sakes, okay?
No. Well, if she has to pay to put that in the magazine.
All right, that's the whole deal. Now, let me give you an idea of what she's paying. This ad, because you can call the magazine and find out what that ad costs. A quarter-page ad, and you got to buy it on a 12-month frequency. So you got a contract for the whole year to get this price. But it's $4,400 a month.
$4,400
for that ad to be there.
She's got to be selling a lot of bowls.
She is selling a lot of bowls, isn't she?
She's selling a lot of bowls.
And I, in my class, when I do my travel and train class, my Fast Start Studio course, I show this to people and have everybody judge the ad and rate the ad. Because rating-wise, it doesn't appear that it's all that great of an ad. Except it's the only ad practically that's been in here for the entire time this magazine has been in publication.
$4,400.
So do you think that's a fairly significant concept?
That's
now,
got to be a big one.
Come over here with me. I want to set up now, and I'm going to show you how to engrave this very thing on a piece of glass. I'm going to just do it for you, and we're going to kind of time it out and see if we can figure out how much money she's making an hour. Okay?
Okay.
Okay.
That'd be fun.
Now, I want you to notice the overall look at the ad and say she shows you the picture of how it looks engraved, and it's done extremely casual, isn't it? And so what she's offering is something here that has the perceived value of at least 130. This was her old ad. Now clear up to 150 bucks plus shipping and handling, and they don't even blink. They have to be buying this at a very aggressive rate, or she couldn't afford to pay that much for an ad. So I went over and I bought, one of the smartest things you can do when you first get started is to go buy your glass and your giftware retail.
From like Walmart?
Yeah, Walmart,
like
big store, Target, somewhere, and find something like this that I found, this neat candle lantern thing. And so I'm going to just go ahead and I'm going to duplicate what she's done on there. And I'm just going to take a Sharpie marking pen and try and somewhat compose it so I can see how it will fit and make sure that it's going to fit on there. Let's see.
So you're just freehanding this whole thing?
Huh?
You're just going to freehand the whole thing?
Yeah, I'm just going to take it and go right from here, okay?
Sharpie and a...
And I do block lettering, F-R-I-E-N-D, friend. A friend might...
So with that Sharpie, if you want to take it off, if it doesn't work, you just rub it out and start over
again.
Hit it
with a Windex.
Okay.
Might well be reckoned. Now I'm going to correct it as I go with the engraving too. So I'm just roughing it out, reckoned, but I want it rough. This hand-done look is what is making it work in the marketplace. And we all think, well, I'm not a good enough engraver, or I got to do some kind of fancy thing. And I'm going, oh, wait a minute. Realize
Wait and
what's
see what
actually
turns out
going
before
on.
it's done.
The masterpiece.
The only problem I'd have is getting it straight.
Well, look, I can see right through the glass the
So
circular
you're
part of
lining
it.
it up.
So
You're lining it up as you go.
I'm lining it up as I go. So you've got a way to kind of get around that.
Oh, that's a cool way to do it.
A masterpiece of, look how much I've got left here, of nature. So I'm spreading it out just a little bit more. And then I'm going to put Emerson here as the person. Now you can use this quote because it's Emerson's quote. Erica doesn't own the quote.
Okay.
Okay. Now you could literally put it on a jig, and you could literally rotate this and make a line if you were worried about your first efforts of getting it somewhat lined up. So you can literally get your guides. And I love Sharpies. They just solve the problem for you.
I know we were over the Lowe's yesterday, and you bought you got so
bunch.
excited when you found the whole package of them.
They're just like magic for me. I love Sharpies. Now, the choice of the burr. This is glass, and you could use a carbide or you could use a diamond. The carbide has got saw blades on it, so it cuts kind of like a saw blade.
Like a saw.
And on some occasions that makes a pretty good mark, but I want a little smoother mark here. And almost all of you, when you first start, you use too small a burr.
Okay.
You'd go clear down to a 2 or a 3, and I want a 4 or a 5. This is actually a 5, and it's right in between a 6. So it's a very large,
so that's going to make a very big.
So it can make a bigger line.
Bigger line cut.
But that's what I want. I want it to show up.
Okay.
So now, when you come in, one of the things you're trying to do here is you're really not trying to copy what I've sketched on here. I'm just going to come in and do the engraving.
Sounds like a dental drill on your
Sounds like money to me.
Yeah, that's a good point.
See, when you're on the money-making end of this drill anymore,
doesn't feel near as bad.
It doesn't hurt like it used to when you're doing root canals with it. But it sure does sound like dentistry, doesn't it?
It does.
Now, if you look at Erica's ad, you have to kind of get the sense that, boy, it wasn't really well done, period. It's just on there. And that's what that gift implies. So wouldn't you want to kind of represent it the same way?
Mm-hmm.
Is somebody keeping track of the time roughly?
No.
Dale is, okay. Hey friend, this is about where I almost screwed up right there. I-E.
One thing you got to make sure you spelled it right.
Yeah, that's the worst thing. You can't misspell it. A friend might well, if this is a quote, a friend might well be reckoned the masterpiece of nature, Chris. Who's this gift given to every time?
It's going to be a friend of yours.
It's from a friend to a friend, isn't it? And it's almost always a woman.
Okay, that makes sense.
Most men wouldn't
want a piece of crystal.
You could put this on a hammer, though, couldn't you? Carve it on a
carve
tool?
it on anything. I have yet to find anything that the drill won't cut into.
You can't do, yeah. Me too. Okay, now, that's the time it took.
What, 5 minutes?
I don't think even 5 minutes, did it? 6 minute clip.
6 minutes,
okay, so
less than about 4 minutes.
So 4 or 5 minutes.
4 or 5
all right.
minutes.
Now, $150.
Less 5 minutes worth
less
of work?
the cost of this. This is $15 for the glass.
Yeah, but that's nothing.
Okay. So
that's nothing.
Divide that out by 10. Multiply it by 10.
So
That's $1,500 an hour gross.
I can handle that. That would be fun.
And I show this in my class every time. It's the first thing I said. We could stop teaching you anything else with the high-speed engraving If all you did was just this, it would be
Okay, but there's one other part.
tremendous money
There's one
maker.
other very important part we got to do though, is we got to show those people how to get from here to where
to make it work.
Because
okay?
I mean,
the concept is a no-brainer.
We
if you
could
couldn't be engraving with a high-speed drill, if you couldn't be doing this in a day,
you did that free-handed and it took
something's wrong.
less than 5 minutes.
Now, what I'm going to do is make it stand out a little bit more. So we got to stop for a second and clean it off. I'm going to just get a little Windex and clean it off, and then we'll put some color in it. Okay.
Okay.
The nifty thing about Sharpies on glass with Windex, boy, it'll just clean it right off. It comes right off, and nobody seems to know that. But it's
you ought to get
really
you ought to
helpful.
get free all the free Windex you ever need, because you
Little
use a lot of
promotion
it.
here for
Heck
Windex.
yeah.
Huh? Pretty good product.
I'll tell you what, it took your Sharpie right off.
Now, you could put it up and leave it like that because you can see it there.
Nah, I got to make it so it stands out better.
But I haven't got the glass very clean either. We got to get it all cleaned off.
Yeah, but you got to make it show up better.
Now, we have a wax-based acrylic that inlays into these material, into these surfaces. And all you have to do is take a little bit of that and just daub it
A little
on.
dabble, do you?
And then what you do is just come along and rub it in. And it'll make that engraving stand out like $1,000,000. I'm using gold here, but there's
You have all other colors.
all kinds. You could do black and green and silver and all kinds of colors.
Ooh, you put a candle in that and light it with that gold. That's
Yeah,
gonna,
won't
gonna
that
make
make
it
it stand
sparkle.
up?
Pretty cool.
I thought that'd finish it up just about right. Okay. Now, it's a good idea. This stuff dries in about 2 or 3 minutes, and it's a good idea to get it off before it dries and starts to set. Get it all cleaned off the glass and everything. You want to rub it down into the engraving that you've done so that it really sticks well, too.
Now, what's the chances of, can you push that too hard and break it, or you have to be real careful with that?
I think it's pretty strong. I don't think you'd have any
it'd be
trouble
bummer
with
to
this.
get that all done and then end up pushing too hard and breaking it.
The thing you don't want to do is hit it with Windex here, and it'll wipe it out. You having a hard time staying up with me with the camera, guys? Here, I'm moving it a little bit too much.
Don't want to hit it with Windex. What do you mean?
Well, Windex would cut the sealer.
It would take the stuff off of it.
Yeah, it
Okay.
takes the acrylic out of what you've engraved.
Okay, so it'd be like taking it off again, right?
Yeah, it could over clean it basically, and then you'd have to inlay some more. So you can just inlay about anything you want this same way, okay? Now, if you've got yourself your candle all ready to go, and that's what it is as a gift, is a now, if you're going to give somebody a gift, this might be an extremely good gift.
That would be nice.
Yeah, really nice
that would
gift.
Be very nice.
But I have a way to one-up Erica's gift completely, okay?
Okay, this is getting cool.
All right. Remember last week in the show last week, Chris, we were talking about the difference between this kind of possibility and as opposed to this kind of possibility with a little fancier slant on it. Which way would you think what we just did was?
Well, that was very easy, but it was
It's
exciting.
just a wide open
You can do anything
possibility.
you want with it.
Anything you can imagine. Every quote's available and possible out there. And I could copy the handwriting of the friend.
Oh yeah.
So I could have the friend write it on the stencil material, put it on, and I could copy the handwriting of the friend on there. And if it's a gift from a friend to a friend, they're going to recognize it, aren't they?
Oh, very much so. Very much
Now,
so.
I've got one that'll actually up that whole thing, because I spent a lot of time trying to chew on what could I do that would be like what Erica does, only even better. And I finally came up with it. It was featured in Bon Appetit magazine, which is now a food magazine. Try and think how unusual it is for a retired dentist crystal engraver to be advertised and exposed in a food magazine. Okay, I came up with what's called Forever Letter, and I did this. I actually sandblasted this one, and I put a Forever Love Letter on a piece of crystal, and Bon Appetit put it in a full-page ad. Now if I'd have paid for that ad exposure, 4-color would have been 80 grand, and I got it for zip. All I had to do was put the concept together and have them publish it. Now I want you to look at the price tag. Okay, this is featuring a letter as well, Forever Letter. So they write the words, email me the letter, I compose it, make a pattern, and blast it on, or I can hand etch it on for $149. But I can do a whole letter. See, Eric, is $150 for just one sentence. I could put a whole letter on it, and I could do it on a flat surface. I can put it on a round crystal. I can go anywhere with it. But then I offer the chance to put it in calligraphy, because a lot of people don't like their handwriting done. The men especially are embarrassed. Their handwriting's not very good, so I'll beef it up and put it in calligraphy and do it in calligraphy for $250. Now, you've watched me sandblast a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And you know that I can do 3 of these an hour for $250 a piece.
$250
So
bucks.
that's better.
You just made $750 an hour.
That's better than root canal.
Oh yeah. Well, it doesn't hurt as bad.
And there's no fainting and there's no bleeding and
no pain.
So much. Every dentist thinks they've got it made, and I'm going, no, you don't.
No, they don't have a clue.
You have almost the worst possible circumstance in your life. So the Forever Letter's been around now for about 10 years. I've done over 1,000 Forever Letters, and that just keeps growing because people see it and they want it done, and you can't run just anywhere and have it custom engraved, and that's the potential. That's the angle that we've got here. And you just need to realize that if you keep doing that and you keep saying, well, I'm going to run my business as a business. I'm going to think about it. I'm going to do a plan about it. I'm going to basically bring it into the marketplace with some degree of thought and some degree of planning. Instead of just throwing mud on the wall, you literally take the concept and say, I wonder if I could do this anywhere else, or is there anyone else doing it? Ken Brown in Dallas is probably our #1 money-making guy in the entire network. Ken has been teaching calligraphy for 40 years. And you can imagine, if you knew how to do calligraphy with the drill freehand, how much prettier the lettering would be. And you could just bang it out quickly. And if you say, what if I knew how to do calligraphy, then what would that drill do for me? It would produce even more. And Ken has mastered this in the marketplace with, right now he holds the high single store sales record for Estee Lauder. He did in Montreal a couple of years ago. He did $54,000 worth of perfume sales right at the counter in the store in the major malls, and he just sits there with a drill and engraves personalization on a bottle of perfume. It's free if you buy the perfume today, right on the spot. And so then he'll put on there what you want to say on the bottle of perfume with the drill. Now, if you could sell $54,000 worth of perfume for a company in 2 days,
I can take the rest of the year off.
You think you're going to make some fairly good money in return?
I think you could do very well. I mean, and the thing that's coolest part of it is the money part's cool, but being able to do something that not everybody's going to be able to do or take the time to do. That's what intrigues me with the whole idea.
Ken has developed a whole program to help you learn how to do calligraphy and engraving with high speed, and we met years ago, and all I had to do was put the drill in his hand, and he just went crazy from that point forward. But most who are watching this right now are going to throw this if only or if question at it and kill the possibility instead of saying what if. What if I could do that? Okay, this is Ken wrote me a quote quite a while ago, and I use it everywhere I go. It says, once upon a long ago time, my life was free of affliction, and though it isn't considered a crime, I have an incurable addiction. I live it, I breathe it, I dream it at night. Through my world of engraving, I frolic. My family's concerned, but I'll be all right. I'm a hopelessly hooked paraholic. Mr. Kenny Brown. And when you can basically find something that you can pull into the marketplace that almost no one else does, and see the potential and the opportunity ahead of time. Okay. Everybody else is saying, I don't think hobby can make that kind of money, and I'm going, you really just have to think this show through tonight. Go through those numbers pretty carefully, and try and consider what Eric is doing, try and consider what I'm doing, Forever Letters.
Well,
what could you do with Ken Brown's skills?
So all you got to do is take the time to think up something that fits for you.
Every high-end store around you, every high-end gift store and jewelry store is looking for something new. And when you can walk in and show that you could engrave the handwriting in the same kind of format for them and then wholesale it through the jewelry store or the gift shop, that's the place to begin. Yeah. And that can only be done locally because it has to be delivered.
Can you take a little, I mean, and I've seen you do it. You can take a little kid's handwriting, write it on a piece of tape, put it on a perfume bottle for his mother or for a friend or someone. That mother's going to hang on to that perfume bottle. I don't care if
we just did that for a Christmas gift.
Yeah.
We put, the kid wrote a poem to his mother, and it got some recognition at school. So we took the same poem and engraved it, hand engraved his handwriting on that verse in glass, on a flat glass panel, and it was a Christmas gift. So the trick here is to see opportunity ahead of time. Everyone can see opportunity after it's passed by. The challenge in life is to see it ahead of time. And just like when I started building this whole studio, putting Soulworthy together required me to make a plan and start from the foundation and build it up decent so that it would stand the test of time and stand the ups and downs of a normal business effort. And I maintain that everyone can learn to do that. If you start planning and start dreaming about what you're going to do, okay? I have announced several times on this show that I'm going to Italy for a year and learn how to carve marble, and I guarantee you these kind of images, when I bump into them, these concepts go into my journal, and I'm good at capturing, I'm good at staying with them, and it helps me to begin to prepare for what I'm then going now to do next.
Okay.
When we show you next week, I'm going to show you how to take this kind of a pattern and put it on the surface and then do a little semi-relief carving and drop the background down and then come back in and put the shaping of the texture of the leaves. And 90% of humanity wouldn't think that you could carve this to this degree really quickly, but you can. And I'm going to show you how, and you and I are going to do it next week on the show, Chris, okay?
Let's do it. I'm ready.
All right. We'll get
I hope
ready
it turns out as good as the picture.
It will, guarantee it.
I'm excited.
Guarantee
It'll be fun.
It will turn out really, really well. Now, over the years, we put together all three programs with engraving, micro sandblasting, and commercial grade airbrushing programs. And we've been at it now for 27, 28. I think this is our 28th year. So we didn't just start day before yesterday.
Nope.
And if you'll get a hold of Tammy, Tammy is the one on the phones when you call Profitable Hobbies. This is our 800 number. That same number's been on, the same exact number for those 28 straight years. So
I think that's one of your most prized possessions.
I'm very proud of that. Yes, not everyone is able to do that. So we'll pay for your phone call. You can get a hold of Tammy. Punch 1 as soon as you get her on the phone. And she can help you go through what the classes are. We teach all kinds of courses, and she can help you find both what is available as well as the timing and then what the charges are as well. If you'll get a hold of me at LouJensenStudio@gmail.com, I can also send you this 7-step program from an amateur to a master, and I'll also kind of begin to line you up, because the goal now is to take all these courses and put them on the web, so that you don't have to come and sit down with us here at the company. You're able to find something that you can actually do, and a great hobby, therapeutic as heck, but then you begin to pull that whole thing into your life as well. And I'd like to take a second. Don Bayless was just here with me, finished his course in the hands-on class, and he had some kind words to share. I'd like to share that with you as we finish up today. Well, everybody, I'd like to introduce to you Don Bayless. Has been with me for a week, and we just met. Well, actually, we met
10 years ago.
10 years ago, that's right. First, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
Long time back.
Very chance meeting.
Yeah, chance meeting, and then decided he's retired now and he gets to play, and He's quite an accomplished scroll saw artist, and so he's going to add the engraving and carving to his repertoire, and he's been here in the studio Fast Start week with me. So what's this week been like for you, Mr. Don? You've done well.
Listen, this has been the most fun learning anything I've ever done.
Yeah, thank you.
I like being, an engineer and everything, but this was so much fun, and
we've had a good time.
We've had a good time, and I've learned a lot of things, and I expect to take it to the next notch when I get home, and maybe to the limit. Yes.
Yeah. Well, your leaves, the set of leaves, we carve a whole set of leaves. It's a Keith Hone pattern and kind of famous little grouping of artwork, but you pushed that clear off a cliff, bud.
I love that.
Really, really did well, and anxious because kind of new at all of it. It's all brand new stuff, and I open up quite a few doors during the week to help you get a feel for quite a wide range of stuff. And,
yes.
But I think wood's got a spot in your heart somewhere.
Well, it sure has.
Yeah, it sure does.
This is going to take me to another dimension that I didn't feel that would go beyond scroll sawing. But when I saw this, I said, I know where I can put this
that'll go
in there, and maybe scroll saw will be going along with.
Yeah, I expect so.
Along with the engraving, and
so.
Maybe it'll be the lesser of my two favorite things, you know. But I expect to do both, and I expect to have a lot of long days doing that.
Yeah, don't we? We're going to grow old together doing some engraving and carving and and some play.
Yeah.
There's quite a few people in my life, Don, who have seen us or already have the equipment, and they're thinking about whether it would be worth it to come and take this much time and spend this kind of money to be in this course. Now that you've finished the week, what do you think?
Oh, listen, I thought that was going to be, I was spending a lot of money, but after what I have been through and the relationship that you and I have kicked up, it was just minute. I wouldn't think twice about spending that much again or more to do it.
Thank you.
To be here and enjoy this atmosphere in Provo. I love it here.
What about last night when we got to meet Craig and Al?
Oh,
and,
we went to Home Studio and met, the best carvers, wood carvers and sculptors, and they were all there, and geez, what nice guys. They're, a lot of artists you expect to be eccentrics and stuff like that, but these guys, geez, they wear Levi's and they're down home, and they shake hands with you and they say, hey, it was nice meeting you, and they just make you feel at home. And I told Dr. Lou when we come out of there, I said, I feel like part of this family now. I said, and that was worth the money right there. Just meeting and going through and having such a week that was unbelievable.
Well, access in our circle is what I think it's all about. I really do think climbing the mountain of success together is what we're pulling off. Because going at it alone is pretty challenging, but if you can do it together, that just ups the odds dramatically. Besides, it makes a hell of a lot more fun.
Oh, I'll tell you, life is going to be a lot more fun.
Well, it's been a pleasure having you here. You've performed well. You were willing to jump in and try anything, and I appreciate that. I threw a lot of different stuff at you all week, but you just went after it with I think your temperament's like that.
Well, I liked your way of teaching. You give us a job, you tell us what to do, and then you back off and let us do it.
Yeah.
And the freedom of just going in and feeling how this tool works, and then just continuing to going to the next step, which is a little bit tougher each time, and today was tough.
Yeah, we really threw the curveball at you today, and you did fine. You did just fine.
It's just something that what I learned today is going to even get better when I do more of it. And
I was thrilled when I found out who you were and your background, because the more tool savvy. You've played with these kinds of tools and concept your entire life.
Absolutely.
And has made his living as a die maker, professional die maker, and so that kind of person, you can't snowball them. You have to be pretty damn close to what's really going on, or you're in trouble. And you just handled everything wonderfully well.
Good.
Your experience really showed through. So we're looking forward to a long journey together now.
Right.
We're going down quite a road.
You're going to hear from me. I'll be back.
I'll bet. I'll bet. Thank
I
you.
certainly will.
Good, Don. Good to have you
Doctor.
come.
It's
All
been
right.
great fun.
I gave Tammy a plaque, a little painting thing that's on some canvas. It says, "Life is all about making memories." Did we make some memories this week?
Did we ever?
We did.
I'm not
didn't we?
going to say where we went today. That was too much.
But we had a little surprise,
we did a little playing
a
around.
little dessert on the end of the week was worth it, I think. You guys earned
Absolutely.
it. You put up with me all week long.
That was
so
great.
All righty. Thank you again.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I gave you a lot to think about in this show, and I hope it'll be something that'll jog you a little bit and have you go look at your own scotomas, your blind spots, and see if there isn't something productive sitting right underneath your nose. Next week's show is all about finding a magnificent obsession. And you'll have to kind of, I got this fortune cookie one time, and this came out, and it says, you know, things have got to work. If they work, it's got to be a commitment thing. It can't be just convenience. And that's generally how it has always happened in everybody we've been working with in the marketplace. It's not where will your life take you, it's where will you take your life. It's making things work out regardless of the circumstances. And everyone says, but what could I do, Lou? Where could I fit in the marketplace, and how might it work, and where would it take off for me? And I'm going to show you.
Where do you want it to go?
I'm going to show you a whole bunch of masters in the course of these shows this year, and have you become acquainted with people who took off and went in a direction where they started with something pretty good, but because they made it a business plan and they worked it carefully, they've turned it into an absolutely magnificent thing in their life. Something that I think is really worthy of your future.
You have a business plan, don't you?
Yeah.
Don't you have that all worked out?
It's called Opportunity Intersection.
So they can get that too and
get in touch with us,
that.
and we'll start working through your business plan with you as well. Hang in there.
So you give them about every opportunity that they can possibly have to make this work for them as much as it's worked for you.
Yeah, we try. We try really hard to do
That's
that.
cool. That's cool.
Hang in there. Look for us same time next week, same place in the World Wide Web, and we'll see you next week. Good night.